next year, here's how tonight's going to work. Each student running for a position has up to 6 minutes to let us know why they're the best ones for the job. Only 4 of SGA positions are contested: sophomore class senator, sophomore class vice president, Love School of Business representative, and executive president. All other candidates are running unopposed, and there are no candidates running for a senior class board. 1 junior class senator seat and president will also still remain open after tonight. And after tonight, the sophomore class vice president, treasurer, and both Senate seats will be. It will be the responsibility of the executive president to appoint people to these positions.
After the speeches, our Eric Halpern will moderate a debate between the 2 SGA presidential candidates, Sean Berry and Avery Stedman. The debate will consist of 3 questions, and each candidate will have 1 minute to respond. Once the debate has concluded, we will bring both candidates in the studio for individual interviews. If you have a question that you want asked, reach out to Elon Local News on Twitter with the hashtag ELN SGA.
Now, before we get started on the speeches, let's take a look at 2 of SGA's big moments since the last election: the passing of the Acorn Fund and its $110,000 allocation for the new recreation center in Danley. Our Paula Blanc has more.
The current members of the SGA have been a part of some of the biggest legislation to move through the organization. In November, SGA passed legislation to help pay for the new recreation center being built behind the Daniel Commons. The entire project cost $2.3 million to fund, $110,000 of which came from the SGA. The legislation has allowed for a larger space to be planned, with an expanded fitness center and 2 basketball courts. Also in November, SGA unanimously passed the Acorn Fund, a $200,000 program that gives money to student entrepreneurs who want to start a business. Applications for the fund are open to every Elon student, but only 2 students are awarded grants per year. Coming up in February, there's an info session and workshop that interested applicants must attend.
With a little more background on SGA's influence on campus, let's see what the candidates have to say.
Hello and welcome to the 2015 SGA Speeches and Presidential Debate. I'm your moderator, Eric Halpern, just to let everyone know how this is going to work. Those running for at-large position candidate besides president can have up to 3 minutes to tell us why they're best for the job. At-large presidential candidates have up to 4 minutes, and candidates running unopposed for any position will have no more than 3 minutes. And students running for executive office will have no more than 5 minutes for their speeches. We start tonight with our potential sophomore class senators, Hannah Clifford, there's no Shay McCoy tonight, and Spencer Wagner. So first off, we will hear from Hannah Clifford.
My name is Hannah Clifford, and I'm running for the position of sophomore class senator. Our time here at Elon has flown by, and I cannot explain how excited I am for this upcoming year. Currently, I'm a senator for the class of 2018 and a member of Student Issues Committee. During this past semester, I've learned so much and feel that I can bring a great amount of experience and am more than prepared to continue contributing to our community through my position on SGA. Over the course of the past few months, a few of my ideas have implemented into our community. A keypad system will be installed outside of all residence halls. This will allow students to gain access to a temporary key code with their phones and will eliminate all possibilities of being locked out, as well as a couple of RA responsibilities late at night. I've also been working with other members of Student Issues Committee to improve dining hours, parking, and getting an American flag in Global Neighborhood, as well as various other things. I won't patronize you and tell you that I'm going to make this experience something magical for all of us. And I'm not going to tell you that I can fulfill every single wish that our class has. But I will promise you that I will spend all of my time and dedication to helping to improve the community we already love so much. The expectations we have for the rest of college should be embodied by the people that lead us. If you vote for me, I can assure you, you will have a senator who is out for your best interest as an individual and a community. So vote for me, Hannah Clifford, for the sophomore class senator. Thank you.
And the next candidate running for sophomore class senator is Spencer Wagner.
Class of 2018, I think it's to your votes last semester, I had the honor of serving you as one of your senators on SGA. Today, I'm asking once again for your vote to continue serving this class in university. These past few months have taught me so much about the organization, and since I'm asking for your vote to continue being one of your senators, I would like to share some of the responsibilities that I have learned while being on SGA, so you are truly informed of the position. First, SGA is responsible for the funds raised from the student activities fees that we have all paid. These funds go directly to the budgets of organizations around campus in a revamped process that includes planning for both SGA and their respective organization. Our partnership with the organization continues into helping to host events and providing funding for extra expenses, such as conferences that arise. Essentially, being one of your senators means making careful and frequent decisions about finances. Finally, but only on the short list, it really does, we serve as a voice between the administration and students. I have personally seen the great lengths that Elon goes to show how it cares about its students and our beliefs about the university. When these conversations happen between SGA and the administration, it is important to have a senator who will focus on Elon's intellectual climate, will be a voice of every member of the class of 2018, and who has a strong commitment to Elon's future. We need someone to think long-term about the decisions of SGA and always wanting the best for both Elon and its students and thus serving our collective needs. I hope this has shown you what the senator position requires and how I'm able to fill that with my passion for this class in school. I promise to work to the best of my ability for both you, the class of 2018, and Elon. So please re-elect me, Spencer Wagner, as one of your senators. Thank you.
If we could just remind all the candidates to speak as loud as possible and close to the mic so we can just pick that up the best, that would be great. So thank you for that. The sophomore vice presidential candidates are Morgan Bodarian, Rachel Hobbs, and Austin Martin. And first up is Morgan.
Ladies and gentlemen of Elon University, and more specifically, ladies and gentlemen of Elon University class of 2018. My name is Morgan Bodarian, and I hope to be the next vice president of the 2018 class. There are a couple things that I intend to do in this next 3 minutes, and there are a couple things that I do not intend to do. I do not intend to offer you outlandish and empty promises, or a list of changes that I want to pursue once in office. However, what I do intend to offer you is my time, my dedication, and my effort. Previous student government involvement has taught me that the most important members of student government are actually the students in which we represent. Your voices fuel our actions. I can't offer you flat screen televisions in every dorm, Chick-fil-A delivered to your or tater tots every day of the week. But what I can offer is my time. Time to listen to all of your concerns, and time to do whatever I can to adhere to those concerns. I understand that my job as sophomore class VP would be to work for all of you, not the other way around. As sophomore class vice president, the needs of you all are first and foremost before my own agenda. Essentially, your agenda becomes my agenda. You tell me what you need, and I will do everything in my power to do that. Upon taking my first steps on Elon's campus, I instantly fell in love. I knew that I was home. When my parents dropped me off in August, it crossed my mind once again, as it has many times after that. For the next few years, this is our home. It is our job to make our home the best it can possibly be. It is our responsibility to make sure that these next few years are the best of our lives. If voted into office, I will work together with other members of SGA, as well as all of you, to make sure that we do just that. The experience that I bring to the table as former junior class council member and senior class VP of my high school, my love for this school, and my desire to make these years as amazing for us as they can possibly be, is why I am asking for your vote. So please, vote Morgan B. for VP.
And the next candidate running for vice president of the class of 2018 is Rachel Hobbs.
Good evening. My name is Rachel Hobbs, and I am running to be the vice president of the class of 2018. I was elected to the position of secretary. I not only enjoyed this opportunity, but it helped me to learn about our class as a whole. I've come to find that since we all come from different places, we each bring unique ideas and perspectives to Elon. If elected to the position of Vice President, I would continue to represent the student body and the wide variety of opinions that are present. As Secretary, I served on both the Homecoming Committee and Student Issues Committee. In preparation for homecoming, I helped to plan activities that were put on for the student body, as well as assist with the Ludacris concert. As a member of the Student Issues Committee, I brought forth ideas from the student body each week. For example, over the years, several students had brought up the idea about having a short-term bike rental program, similar to City Bike in New York City. Currently, I'm working on the research for this legislation. If elected Vice President, I would make sure to fulfill the responsibilities of the position. In addition to serving on the Judicial Committee, attending weekly SGA meetings, and collaborating with my fellow officers, I want to make it my mission to open the lines of communication with the student body. While I will obviously make sure to listen to the opinions of students, I want to take this a step further. From serving on the Student Issues Committee, I have learned that it is possible to put ideas into action. I hope to be able to make many of your ideas a reality. Additionally, I have learned that passing legislation is not instantaneous. That being said, I would strive to at least keep students updated on progress that is being made on various issues. If elected, I hope to convey that as a member of student government, we're here, we're ready and willing to listen, and most importantly, we work for you. I've truly enjoyed representing our class this year and would love the opportunity to do so next year. I have found that college is an amazing time as we're given such a short window to make friends, seize opportunities, and leave a legacy as the class of 2018. I would work to unite our class so that together we can bring positive change to our university and someday the world around us. Thank you.
And the third and final candidate running for sophomore class vice president is Austin Martin.
Hi, my name is Austin Martin and I'm running for sophomore class vice president. And this past semester, I've been privileged to serve as first-year senator, representing my fellow freshmen and being a part of Elon's rapid growth. And let me tell you a bit about what I've learned during my first semester on SGA. First, students have a powerful voice on campus, more so than you may think. Second, the administration regularly the SGA for guidance on behalf of the student body. But third, and probably most importantly, is that I've come to realize that any office member on SGA, or any office in SGA, is really only as powerful and as effective as the person in it. Well, this is important to realize because essentially it would be easy for me to be on SGA, yet remain disconnected and unengaged with my class. Well, let me assure you that as an active member of our community and an engaged representative for our class, I refuse to be passive on issues that affect the student body. I eagerly listen to what my constituents want, and I'll make sure that your voice makes a difference. I speak up, I ask tough questions, and I push for real change on campus. I argued in favor of funding the Danley Multipurpose Center to ensure its usefulness and its accessibility for club and intramural sports, as well as for large concerts, Greek events, and much more. I'm excited to be a part of game-changing initiatives on campus to transform student life. Currently, I'm helping revive the Phoenix Fanatics, a student-led athletic fan section that will drastically enhance our sports environment and establish Elon's presence in the CAA. But what makes me especially proud to represent my class is that the potential of the class of 2018 is incredible. We are a class filled with ambition, initiative, and promise. We're a class that does not take the easy way out, and we are deserving of a representative who will live up to that standard. As sophomore vice president, I will continue to listen, take action for your interests, and remain dedicated to representing the class of 2018 diligently and wholeheartedly. I'd greatly appreciate your vote. Thank you.
Now we're going to move into the speeches for those running for Executive Council. Those running for Executive Treasurer, Secretary, and Vice President are all running unopposed. We'll start off with Leo Moran running for Executive Treasurer.
Good evening. My name is Leo Moran, and I'm running for Executive Treasurer of the student body. Throughout my time at Elon, I've seen incredible change. Every time we return from a break or a long weekend, it seems that there's a new building going up or a new quad being planned. The change that I've seen, however, is much more than just the natural aesthetic changes that any student at any university could see. I've seen fellow students and friends go from being first-year students learning their way around the school into leaders on campus doing amazing things. This is what makes Elon so special to me. As students at Elon, we are given the opportunities to make a real impact on where we go to school. There are over 200 clubs and organizations here at Elon, with almost every student being involved in some way. These organizations dramatically affect the campus we live on, as well as the community outside it through events and fundraisers that help define us as a university. The commitment of these students is what makes everything we do here possible, as what makes Elon such a special place. I've been lucky to come here and be involved in several groups on campus, with SGA, the business school, and Greek life. And being a part of these organizations, I've seen the importance of planning and leadership, as well as the massive effect that these organizations have on our student body. If I were body treasurer, I would be honored to serve these organizations, doing my absolute best to empower them to be the best that they can be, for our students and for our community.
And now we'll hear from Grace McDavid, running for Executive Secretary.
Hello everyone, my name is Grace McDavid. I'm a junior elementary education major, and I'm running for the position of Executive Secretary. I joined SGA in the spring of my first year, and since then, I have represented the School of Education on the Academic Council. This role allowed me to be the common link between education majors and the administration of the School of Ed. During my time, I collected student responses about what they would like to see the school improve upon. This data facilitated the addition of the education minor and also aided the school during an accreditation process. I've learned a lot through this position, including the importance of student feedback and how it will assist me in my next. As Executive Secretary, one of my main jobs will be working in partnership with SUB to plan homecoming. I want to capitalize on the successes of the past few homecomings and continue to make them better and better each year. Another role the Secretary has is to keep the minutes for our weekly Senate meetings. Throughout the next year, I wish to implement a new way to organize these records in a more accessible manner so we, as a Senate, can stay accountable to the precedent we set. As those who know me can attest, I always have an open door and encourage anyone to come to me, whether it is to ask a question, suggest something new, or just any feedback of any kind. I am really looking forward to this upcoming year as Executive Secretary and cannot wait to see how much we can accomplish. Thanks a million and have a great night.
And running for Executive Vice President is Adam Kanazik.
Good evening, my fellow students. Hailing from Buffalo, New York, the question I am most often asked by my colleagues, professors, friends, and family is why Elon? For the past 3 years, I've constantly pondered this question. Why did I end up choosing Elon University over other parallel institutions? Is it because of the botanical garden we choose to call our campus? Is it the 200+ student organizations? Or is it the small class sizes and the professor-student relationships? My reason is surely different than all of yours, but yet we are all still here today receiving an education from this incredible institution, regardless of how we got here. I know that I am proud to say I am an Elon student, and it is my privilege and honor to represent this diverse and accomplished student body. Each and every student at Elon is dedicated to the community in some way. It could be through club sports, Greek life, volunteer organizations, or even student government. However, what we all have in common as students is that we all have a stake in our university. I've watched over the past 3 years how the student's voice has become a powerful tool for success. The student voice must be heard when it comes to appropriations, that all organizations on campus are equitably funded, and that laws and new policies in student government are effectively communicated back to you, the student body. My goal, if elected student body vice president, is to make sure that each and every student on campus has a voice and can turn to SGA and myself whenever he or she needs to be heard. Elon provides an incredible setting to learn and to grow, both as individuals and collectively. This esteemed university does this by consistently being open to change and reform. As Mahatma Gandhi once said, "Be the change you wish to see in the world." This quote from the infamous civil rights movement leader relates directly to the process of change here at Elon. The first step in reformation begins with students speaking up and expressing their opinions. SGA is the student accessible outlet to be able to be the change you wish to see at your university. I promise, if elected into office, to take each and every one of your opinions and suggestions to the Senate and to senior staff if applicable. Your voice is going to be the first step in moving forward with change and for the betterment of this establishment overall. I will not stop until every idea is fully exhausted and until each and every student's opinion is expressed and heard. Facilitating discussion, encouraging reform, and representing your constituents is what makes a great leader and a member of SGA. I encourage all of you to speak up and express your opinions. Use your voice and come to SGA if you need to be heard. We are here to represent you, and therefore my office door will always be open. It is my mission to make sure that your voice is heard within student government, and that my first priority and responsibility is always in the student interest. Entrust your vote in me, and I can assure you that I will represent you and your ideas to the best of my ability. And together we can continue to make Elon an incredible institution. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Now it's time to hear from the candidates running for executive president. Juniors Sean Berry and Avery Stedman are running, and Sean is up first.
Good evening. I would like to start by thanking everyone who helped put on this production of the Student Government Association speeches tonight, especially Elon Local News. For those of you who know me, hello, thank you for coming tonight. For those of you, Sean Berry, I am a junior, an accounting major with leadership studies minors and a finance minor as well from Newtown, Pennsylvania, a small town just north of Philadelphia. And as you probably could have guessed by this point, I'm running for Student Government Association Executive President. So why do I want to run for this position? Well, it starts by simply saying that I love Elon. Everything about this place makes me want to smile. From the beautiful campus, to the squirrels that know no boundaries, to the amazing faculty and staff, and of course, the brilliant students. There's so little not to like about this place. From day one, Elon has given me so many opportunities, and I cannot even count how much I'm thankful for from this university. That this is why I want to run for the seat. I not only want to give back and represent the community as best as I can, but I want to make sure that everyone at Elon can have the same experience that I've had so far. I believe that everyone deserves that, and if something can be done to improve a student's life, I want to see it happen. Elon is by no means perfect. We have our flaws just like everyone else. That is why we need to continue to have the discussions that will improve this campus and work together to make this the best possible community that it can be. I know that these 4 years will be the best 4 years of my life, and I want to make sure that everyone can leave saying that their 4 years at Elon will be the best 4 years of their lives as well. I've learned so much about leadership in my time here at Elon. As a leadership fellow, I'm too often faced with the question of what is leadership? There's a reason why I always struggle with this question. I believe that leadership is different in many scenarios. It is not a concrete thing that could be applied to many different situations. For different organizations or groups, the leadership within is entirely different. I believe that the student body president needs a special form of leadership, and this was explained to me by a very trusted advisor. This person explained to me that the student body president needs to be a servant leader. It's that simple. This person must serve those whom he or she represents, and do his or her best to get the opinions of every single person on this campus. The student body president must be the voice for the underrepresented groups, the overrepresented groups, and everyone in between. He or she has to be the voice for those who think they don't have a voice, and to do his or her best to make sure that this campus is a home for everyone that lives here. I'm here to serve you, and I want to make myself accessible to the needs of every single student. So what exactly needs to be done? I believe that SGA needs to be made more available so that students can feel that their voices have a say on this campus. I want students to start initiatives to stop issues such as sexual assault and discrimination on campus. And I will work with student leaders around campus to make sure that this happens. I want to enhance institutional so that Elon can continue to move forward and never get stopped in its own tracks. It doesn't stop there. I want to hear from you. I want to know what you think will make Elon better, and we can work on this together. It's simple. I want to make sure that this campus is better for everyone. Being a senator on SGA this past year has shown me more than I could have ever imagined. I am new to the Senate, and as a new senator, it took me some transition time to find out the workings of SGA. I've worked closely with Joe and Corvia and other SGA senators to get a grasp of how SGA functions. Now that I know how everything works, I can truly see how much of an impact SGA can have on this campus. As the junior class president and as the chief of staff to Joe and Corvia, I've learned that we as students can have a positive impact on Elon's campus, even if it goes on. In the past year, I have been exposed to the hardships and challenges that go along with the position. But I've also felt the sense of accomplishment that when we pass legislation that gives students the ability to have a recreational area in the Danley Center, legislations that foster students' creativity and innovation through the Acorn Fund, or initiatives that improve life in general. Now, it would be for me to stand here today and promise you that everything that we want to get accomplished will get accomplished within the next year. However, I can promise you that my past experiences have prepared me for this role and the steps that lie ahead of me. I can promise to you that I will be the servant leader that this position requires. And I can promise to you that I will do everything that I can to make sure that Elon is a place that we love. I hope that I prove this to you, and I would love your support next week during elections. Thank you.
For the last speech of the night, we'll now hear from Avery Stedman, also running for executive president.
Okay, good evening, everyone. First off, thank you all so much for taking time out of your surely busy Elon to be here tonight and paying attention to the student government elections. And also, thank you to ELN. It's so cool in here. You wouldn't believe how professional these guys are. It's awesome. So for those of you who have not met me yet, my name is Avery. I'm a junior. I'm so excited to be running for the student body president this year. I love talking about Elon, so this should be fun for me, but let's give it a go. So when I talk about Elon with people, I often hear the same things over and over again. Of course, it's Elon is the most beautiful campus in the whole entire world and things like that. But my favorite thing to talk about is the students at Elon. And you often hear three things about Elon students. One is that they are passionate, another is that they are engaged, and the third is that they are involved. And I have yet to meet an Elon student that doesn't embody those three characteristics. Our students are passionate about things like dance, football, singing, Greek life, service, and study abroad. As executive treasurer, I've met with countless who have embarked on amazing journeys because of those passions. Last winter term, 6 Elon students went to India for a rickshaw run that took them from the north to the south of India. And then I've also met with students who are so passionate about gaming that they have a club and they spend countless hours preparing for competitions that put Elon's name on the map for computing science programs. If there's one thing I don't want to change about Elon, it's the passion that our students have for their organizations that they belong to. I've also heard about the idea that Elon is home. I've heard from many friends about the look of horror on their parents' faces when they let it slip and say, "Oh, I'm going home in a couple weeks," when they really mean Elon. But it comes naturally to us because Elon becomes the home for so many people. For me, when I think back to my childhood years, there's a place that is the best place for me, and that was my bedroom. I spent countless hours there writing stories, thinking about things, growing up, finding peace. And when I came to Elon, my first week, I decided to run for freshman class treasurer. And after being elected, I quickly became so comfortable in student government that it was just like I was being at home in my own bedroom. I love SGA and would be extremely honored to be the student body president. I've spent every Thursday night since my first week at Elon in Mosley 215 at SGA meetings. Some lasted an hour, others lasted up to 3. But there was never a dull moment for me. Whether we were discussing the intellectual climate or whether or not to fund the new Danley gym, I've never doubted the amazing ability student government has to reach our campus. Elon, like the 125 oak trees planted last fall, has room to grow. 2 years ago, if you went to the tailgate, you would probably run into 1 or 2 friends, very little food, and definitely no music. The Student Life Office, Athletics, and SGA have worked extremely hard to completely transform that experience. Bank of America Drive is now the place to be on a fall Saturday, and I hope to be part of that growth in the coming year. To the first years, would you believe that the Oak House wasn't here last year? During a discussion SGA had at President Lambert's house a couple years ago, we talked about intellectual climate, and we realized that we really needed a place on campus that was comfortable, safe, and an enlightening setting. And that's why Oak House is here now. Some of the best ideas for the advancement of Elon have come from our peers, not just from student government elected people. It would be my goal as student body president to connect that gap between those students and administration and student government. The student government is here to better every student's experience. My vast experience serving on SGA makes me believe that I am the best candidate for student body president for the 2015-2016 school year. Thank you so much, and I can't wait to see you all.
And now that we've heard from all of our candidates, we'll set up for the presidential debate between Sean Barry and Avery Stedman.
As we wait for the debate, let's get to know our potential presidents a little bit better.
Sean Barry is a junior from Newtown, Pennsylvania. Barry is an accounting major and finance and leadership studies double minor. This is his first year in SGA, where he is serving as junior class president. Barry is appointed to the position of chief of staff by Joan Corvia. During his time on SGA, Barry helped senators pass legislation and had a part in organizing the luminary ceremony. When he's not involved in student government, Barry is a leadership fellow, a tour guide with the Office of Admissions, and a member of Delta Upsilon fraternity.
Barry's opponent is junior Avery Stedman, a finance major with minors in accounting and economics from Williamsville, New York. Stedman is currently SGA's executive treasurer, and this is her 3rd year in SGA. In each of her first 2 years at Elon, she was the treasurer for the class of 2016. Outside of SGA, Avery works for Campus Recreation, the Omicron Delta Kappa Society for Leadership, and a member of Alpha Zeta Delta sorority.
Now, before Barry and Stedman debate, let's hear from the advisor of the Student Government Association, Jana Lynn Patterson. Our Gary Grumbach sat down with Dean Patterson earlier this week to get her take on the upcoming elections.
Hey there, thanks so much for joining us. I'm Gary Grumbach here with Dean Jana Lynn Patterson, advisor to the Student Government Association at Elon University. Thanks so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you for having me.
So can you describe the Student Government Association impact on the university?
Well, the Student Government Association is the voice of the students to the administration, to the faculty, and to the staff. We have what we call a shared governance system in that many of our faculty committees have students on them. It is SGA president's role to make sure that those students are represented on those committees.
What are some goals for student government this semester coming up?
I think the goals will be for them to come though together as a group, to listen to their constituents, to bring forth ideas for enhancements on campus.
How do you think that SGA can be described at Elon University?
I think a group that is invested in their community and a group that works very hard and works very diligently to enhance the lives of students. What I don't think we do is talk enough externally to SGA about what that is.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Well, you're welcome.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
The debate is just about to begin, so let's go back to Eric with our 2 presidential hopefuls.
Welcome back to Studio B for the SGA Executive Presidential Debate between juniors Avery Stedman and Sean Barry. Thanks for being here with us tonight. Before we get started, let's just go over how everything is going to work. We'll provide a brief opening statement, then I will pose a question to the candidates, and each will have a minute to answer. After the question, each candidate will have 45 seconds for a closing statement. We flipped a coin to see who would speak first in the debate, and then we'll alternate from there. And so Avery won the toss and chose to speak second. So, first question, Sean. Like we mentioned earlier in the show, there are many SGA positions that are going to be vacant after this election because no one's running. So, as president, it would be your job to appoint people to these positions. So if elected, how would you go outside of your social sphere to fill these positions and give a voice to groups that may not be represented on the current Senate?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's something that's very important that we need to do in our next year at SGA, and that's something that I've really worked closely with Joe with in the past year as well. The main aspect of finding that is finding those all-stars on campus, finding those people that are really going to represent who their constituents are. Finding people like Robert Danis, who had nothing to do with SGA as of just a couple months ago, and he came in and has really made an impact on this campus so far, on SGA so far. So it's going around and not just focusing on your friend groups, but talking to every other senator on SGA and seeing who they believe can fit well into SGA and get the work done to represent their constituents as best as possible.
And Avery, how do you feel like you'd be able to do this if you were elected?
Sure. So actually, as part of my position as executive treasurer this year, I actually did do a lot with picking out and trying to help new students be appointed to positions on student government. And how we went about that was a lot of emailing to different leadership fellows, to business fellows, things like that. So we would definitely get different spheres. And then it was a lot of word of mouth because, you know, the people that are the ones who are most passionate and the ones that really, really want to be there. And those are the ones that put the most time and effort into it. So that's what we look for when we are trying to appoint new positions to student government.
And now the second question will also be first to you, Avery. So in your time here at Elon, there have been multiple occasions of harassment in regards to race. The Multicultural Center is now the Center for Race, Ethnicity, and Diversity Education. So how are you going to use your position and resources to help create a campus of inclusivity?
Yeah, so the Creed is great. We spent the beginning of our retreat this fall at the Creed learning all about what they are doing, what they're planning. We spoke a lot with them about what they could do to teach diversity education, and I think that's very important to start from the beginning, to start from like the first day on campus, to really get into the new students' heads about what Elon sees as proper development through diversity education. So I think that's where we need to start, and hopefully, I know I've spoken a lot with the Creed about it, and they're in the same direction, so it's great.
And Sean, how would you help create more of a campus of inclusivity?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the Creed has been a fantastic since they switched it up with their new name and everything, and Randy Williams coming in this past year as the director within Creed has really done an amazing job around campus. But I think there's so much that administration can do to really try to come in as soon as students get on campus, do different programs and things like that. That's one aspect of it, but I also believe that it also starts with the students. I think that students need to start the initiatives to make sure that we can get out there, get our voices out there. There's only so much that administration can tell you, but if it's coming from the students and you're talking to other students and getting that perspective, you're going to respect that opinion so much more than it coming from people you barely even know in some cases. So I think we need to start student initiatives, working with students in Creed, working with other students on campus, especially even within the LGBTQIA Center and all other race and ethnicity and different diversity centers on campus to really make sure that we can change it as students.
And Sean, for the last question of the debate, creating an intellectual climate here at Elon has been an ongoing project for a couple of years now. So as student body president, how would you help support Elon as a growing intellectual community?
Yeah, that's also another important thing, and I know in past debates and past discussions, it's always been something that's always been brought up, and we've had different discussions on it last year. Something that's really it's gonna be to the same thing that I just talked about with diversity. It starts with the students. So creating those dialects, creating those discussions around students to make sure that we get it out there for that, and making sure that everyone on campus knows what our goals are. SGA, we can push that as well. We can have those discussions in our meetings weekly and make sure that we can have as much of an intellectual climate on campus as we possibly can.
So my favorite discussion that I've had about intellectual climate was actually in Jamaica during an alternative break trip. And I remember sitting by a fire and we were talking about what Elon needed to increase our intellectual climate. And I think those conversations are the ones that are most important to have with our peers. And we, at that time, were talking about the Oak House. And it's so cool now to be standing here. House is there, that this really has helped. That I think is a place for us to all go, and I know I've had intellectual climate amazing. And I think also, starting with the Intellectual Climate Committee, that really made a huge difference. If we can keep that going and keep up the discussion, keep up the conversations that go from between the students to the student government, because we really do have incredible power to get to the administration. If we can do that, I think our intellectual climate in the next 5 to 10 years will just be over the roof, and our students will be so excited to come here.
Thank you both very much. Before we end here in Studio B for the night, just your closing statements. So, Avery?
Yes. First of all, thank you all so much. I've had an incredible journey as the executive treasurer. I've learned so much about how student governments run. I think that with that, knowing the ins and outs will really help me, just put me right at the beginning to help you all to get your voices heard. So please vote for me next Tuesday and Wednesday. Thank you.
All right, thank you guys again for having me tonight. Elon Local News, you did an amazing job. I just hope I have your vote next week. I am very excited to represent you in some capacity. I want to make a difference on this campus, and I want to show that my leadership skills and my abilities that I've had so far in my 2.5 years so far have really proved that to you. And again, I hope I have your support, and thank you again.
Well, thank you both, and thank all of you for taking the time out of your nights to come here. That concludes the SGA speeches and presidential debate. Guys, back to you.
Now you just heard from the two candidates going after the executive president.
Now, before we bring them into the studio to ask them questions of our own, let's take a look at what current President Joe Corvia about his reactions to his term and advice to his successor, I sat down with him earlier this week.
What is it like to be president, of SGA and have that influence on Elon's campus?
It is one of the, in my opinion at least, one of the most rewarding experiences I've ever had at Elon. People always ask me, what's your favorite part about the job? And I think for me, it's just being able to honestly brag about what cool things Elon students are doing. I mean, each Elon student has their own story, has their own passion, is doing something really awesome. And being able to have those interactions with both administration and people outside of the school that come and visit and tell them, how amazing of a place Elon is, that just gets me going every single time. So I've really thoroughly enjoyed it.
Now, through your term and your 4 years of being in SGA, can you sum up your experience?
Wow, maybe wow could be a good one. But exhilarating. I think that every single part of my Elon experience has been, learning something new, trying something new, just living life to the fullest. And so, yeah, I think exhilarating would be a good word for how I feel about my Elon experience.
And so being with, president, you have a lot of policies and tasks you're doing. What has been your biggest accomplishment?
One of the best things that we've been able to accomplish is putting together and establishing the Acorn Fund, which just launched this spring. That's a big one. I also think that a lot of work that we've done to try to foster community around, not only as an organization, but get the Elon community together has been great. I think we still have some work to do, but I would say policy-wise, establishing the Acorn Fund, more personally for the organization, just getting people the sense of that they've been able to make an impact on campus. So I've really enjoyed that, and I think that's pretty big.
So do you have any regrets in your term?
I would say probably the biggest regret was not really realizing in the moments, how much we could really do, and maybe pushing some more envelopes and doing things a little bit more. But overall, I think I'm really happy, and I don't have too many regrets from this past year.
How do you think it's shaped your college experience overall, and even the future?
I've shown myself that if I set a goal for myself, I can accomplish it. I knew from day one at Elon that hopefully one day I would be sitting in this position, and I made that somewhat of a goal for myself, and I was able to accomplish that. So my career aspiration is to be a doctor, and so for a lot of times there were moments where I didn't think that was going to be possible. But I've shown myself that if I really put my mind to something, I can accomplish it, and I was able to do that with this position, which has really given me confidence for saying, Joe, if you put your mind to something, you can really.
What are you going to miss most about the position?
About my position, I'm going to miss, it's the best and it's the worst part of it. I'm going to miss all the meetings. I really got to.
You were the first person to probably say that.
Yeah, well, no, the thing is I get to sit in meetings with some of the best students that we have here at Elon, some of the greatest minds, the best professors, our administration is awesome, and I get to sit there, pick their brain, and listen to what they have to say. And so I'm going to just miss, being in those rooms and being amongst those people.
Do you have any advice for the next person to fill your shoes?
Definitely. I mean, I think the best piece of advice I got was never squander any opportunity to make a difference. New advice that I would also give is just grab every single chance to talk to people. I think that Elon students and faculty and staff and administrators, they all have really good stories to tell, and I think there's always a avenue to help people. And I think that a lot of Elon students have some great ideas, and I don't think a lot of them are often heard.
Thank you so much again for sitting down with us and reflecting on your term, and that's all we have for you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks. I'm now joined by Sean Berry. Sean, thank you so much for coming in.
Of course.
And now you've only been on SGA for 1 year in office. Do you think that's going to be a disadvantage to you running in this election?
I don't think so. I think that I have proved that within the last year that I really can get all that's been accomplished and keep moving forward. I also think it also is an advantage to me in some sense because I won't be lost in the tracks that we've always been in. I could keep moving forward and don't necessarily have to go down the path that SGA has always gone back down.
You talked a lot in your speech about making SGA more available to the students. How will you plan to do that in your time in office?
I think, yeah, that's something that's really important to me. And I think that's happened about 2 years ago when Welsford was in office, when he was the president last year, actually. And he really revamped Org Council, really made it more accessible to students, made sure that there were different positions for every organization, every type of organization on campus. And so something I want to focus on is really revamping at-large council, each class representation, the presidents and the vice presidents of each class. And I think that because students don't really know what they do, and frankly, the at-large council barely knows what they do in some cases. So I really want to revamp that and really make themselves know what they're talking about, and the at-large council knows exactly what their role is and everything that they're supposed to do, so that they could get out to students and really make them with students.
Now, in order to do that, how do you plan to gain support in this election?
That's a good question. So I have a couple strategies and whatnot for our campaign, but it's really just getting myself out there, talking to different people, talking to those underrepresented groups. People could go out there and get those easy votes, get those votes of your friends and get the votes of people you know. But the really important thing is going out there and getting those groups that are underrepresented, the ones that need to have a voice on campus. And I think that I could go out there and get the voices of the Creed heard, or the LGBTQIA Center. I want to get their voices heard, and I will go and talk to them and make sure that they can have the same voice that everyone else has on this campus.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Sean. We appreciate your
I
time
appreciate
here.
it.
And now I'll toss it over to Paige, who is joined with Avery Stedman at the desk.
Well, we are here. We're going to ask the same kind of questions. So thank you so much for being here again.
Thank you for having me.
So you talked about making Elon more of your homey environment. How do you plan on doing that?
Yeah, so what I've noticed that each Elon student thinks of Elon as a whole as their home, but the idea of what I was thinking is that we have our bedrooms within our homes, and those are our organizations, and that's what everyone's really passionate about. And so, especially as treasurer, that was something I could help people with, creating their organization as something as like the most important place for them. And that's where you really grow as a student, in that place where you're so comfortable that you can be yourself, which I have found in student government. Then I think that's what makes Elon the place you want to be for the next 4 years. So
build that Elon community within our already Elon community.
Yes, exactly.
And you talked about your multi-year experience in SGA. How do you think that will play into your role in the election itself?
Sure. So I have seen so many things come and go through the SGA, and how we've handled it well and how we've handled it very poorly at sometimes. And I think that will definitely help me. So, and also another thing is, when you're in a position like this with the executive board, it's very interesting, and there's definitely a transition period. And I think because I've already been through that as a year, I think my transition to student president would be a lot smoother than someone who hadn't already been in one of those positions before. So.
Great. And the big question, what makes you different? What do you bring to the table that only you can bring?
Sure. I think what I bring to the table is that I've made so many connections already that it's pretty easy for me to find things that I know should be changed. And I've done this so often, and I know that might make it seem like I would have a stagnant year, but I really think that I've just seen so much come and go that I could push our school so much faster, more forward. So I don't know, that's what I would love to be the student body president and
all right.
Start that.
Well, thank you so much for coming on, and good luck with the election.
Thank you.
Now, the next step for Elon students is to vote. Here's how you do it. Current Executive President Joe Incorvia will send out a link Tuesday for students to cast their vote. Voting will be online beginning 9 a.m. Tuesday, and you can cast your vote up until 5 p.m. Thursday. And remember, just one vote per student. Elon Local News will have the voting link on our website, elonlocalnews.com.
That's all we have for you tonight for ELN's coverage of SGA's speeches and presidential debate.
For more ELN, you can like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter.
Thanks for joining us.